I don't look at Scott as my opponent. Rush Holt's my opponent. Ultimately, Rush Holt is the man who we have to take out of office. We can't keep letting, I mean, they have been talking about they are fiscally responsible. How fiscally responsible are they? We are $13 trillion in debt on the books. Now, you include unfunded liabilities like Social Security and Medicare, it's another $103 trillion.
How do you fix that?
Simple. First, you change the tax code.
Well, yeah, when you ran as an independent 2 years ago,
Yes.
you told the Asbury Park Press editorial board that you wanted a tax code like Russia and Lithuania has.
No, what I said was Russia and Lithuania had the flat tax, which is superior to what we have now, but I proposed the fair tax, which is the national consumption tax. Mike Huckabee talked about it, and that would be even superior to the flat tax. And here's why. The flat tax is still based on income. Albert Einstein said that the most difficult thing for him to understand was the U.S. tax code. Now, Einstein's obviously a brilliant man. He understood it. What he was saying was, why would you tax the production? What you're doing then is going to get less of it. If I tell you every dollar you make over a certain amount, you're going to pay a higher rate, and if they really jump it up, what do? Human nature. You're going to go talk to your accountant to figure out how you minimize that. But if you do it by basing it on consumption, you're now being told, Art, go make as much money as you can. Do it. Grow your business. Grow it. Then go pay tax when you buy something. What is more democratic than that? You get to choose. 300 million Americans will be paying the tax. Currently, only 47% of the American people are paying an income tax. The other part is, under the flat tax, you still have to pay your payroll taxes, and more people in America now pay more under their payroll tax than they actually are under their income tax. We're getting to a tipping point where the so-called big producers in this country are going to finally say enough. They're not going to continue to work hard to make more money if it's all going to be taken away from them.
So you're saying simply, as you said, it's simple, that the fair tax, which is a national sales tax,
correct,
will solve the $13 trillion debt and will make Social Security solvent?
It will no. What it will do is start putting us on the right path, and here's why. Currently, under the U.S. tax code, U.S. corporations are punished if they bring money back in this country. GM is a profitable company overseas. They've been making money all these years overseas. They haven't been making money here for a variety of reasons. Now, their management is acting perfectly rational. If they bring the profit back to the U.S., what happens? 35% tax rate, second highest in the world.
So you're telling me, I haven't studied GM's financials in quite some time, but you're telling me that GM is a profitable company, their stock went down to zero, and the government bailed them out even though they were profitable.
Yes, because they were profitable worldwide. They make more, do you know GM makes more fuel-efficient vehicles than any company in the world? But not here, because of their union agreements, because they can't make a profit because their fixed plant costs, etc., in the United States are too high. So they can't sell a little 35-mile-per-gallon car here and make a profit. So they make their profit on a Suburban. Now, perfect example of government intervention affecting the long-term health. In 2014, CAFE standards for cars go into effect. The CAFE, I should say. The cars have to average 35 miles per gallon. So now they're telling GM you have to start selling less cars in America that you make a profit on, the big ones. You have to sell more of the small ones. Now, if they're losing money on all the small ones, how eventually are they going to pay you back? Because you're the one now who lent GM the money.
But if they're profitable, what do they need the money for?
They won't bring it back to America. It's kept offshore. Because if they bring it back here, let's say they made $1 billion profit, they have to pay $350 million to Uncle Sam. Now, as perfectly rational human being, if you were told, gee, I could keep the money offshore, still have use of it, or bring it back to America and have to give up 35% off the top, which would you do?
Well, I understand what the rationale is, but I got to study this a little bit because they present the consolidated financial statement to their shareholders. If they were profitable in one part of the world and not profitable in the other world, they would not have collapsed.
Well, GM has a different corporate structure outside America, so you don't have to see it on their consolidated statement here. Different company. You set up a different company to avoid what you just said.
So but then it's really not General Motors. It's an independent company.
Well, it would be the same as you starting another branch and you're ultimately the owner of it. And you could say it's still separate. See what I mean? Eventually, the bottom line is, and that, forget only GM, the United States, U.S.-based companies have subsidiaries, etc.
Well, but
Overseas-
subsidiary is consolidated. It means it's owned by.
Well,
Right.
yes, well,
But
it could be semantics. It could be
it's
an
not,
offshoot.
it's not semantics. And I haven't studied it. You seem to like you have, but it's a very serious charge that you're making. Is that the United States government took over a profitable company and bailed them out because they weren't profitable in the United States, but they were profitable elsewhere.
Okay.
That seems pretty outrageous to me. I got to verify that.
Well, you can check it out because there are about 11.
I mean, yeah, I could have this
By all means,
business.
check it out.
I could have this business and own another business.
Right.
Some down the street.
Well, they own it
or
under a
something.
different name, so they avoid it. But because again, the reason is they'll
But
set up.
David,
Let's
that's
say
outrageous. It's not owned by General Motors then. It's not owned by the same shareholders. Is that what you're saying? Owned by the same shareholders.
ultimately may get back to them. I don't know how they've broken up their class share, stock shares, the classes of stock, etc. That I can't tell you. What I can tell you
If I go buy General Motors stock today, am I buying part of that? Part of those profitable operations elsewhere in the world?
probably if you're buying in the U.S. stock market, no.
Okay.
But again, it's an let's call it an offshoot of GM. But besides GM, you have over $11 trillion offshore from U.S. companies that do not bring it back here because of the tax code.
Mm-hmm.
That's one big thing that would get the economy moving again. Forget a $1 trillion stimulus package. What if the real producers of this country were able to expatriate and bring the money back here? Greenspan was asked about this in testimony, and he had said that if the tax code was changed, well, this is when he was the head of the Fed, within a matter of months, most of that money would come back here. Think about what that would do to the economy. Also, the fact that they have Social Security. They have borrowed nearly $2 trillion from the Social Security Trust Fund. You remember the lockbox and all that stuff. So they've borrowed $2 trillion. Now, the question is, how are they going to pay it back? Because this year, you noticed, Social Security went negative, meaning more money going out than coming in.
Mm-hmm.
That means sooner or later, they've got to start refunding that money that they've borrowed.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to pay it back?
I'm not ever counting them yet.
Okay. But here's the point, yeah. They borrowed money that you already put in.
Mm-hmm.
They have no way of paying it back except getting you to pay it back again yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The same as if I buy something from you, and then you come to me and I pay you money for it. You come to me a couple weeks later and say, Dave, the money you gave me, it's already gone. I had to spend it on things. Could you pay me again for the item?
Mm-hmm.
And I would most likely tell you, no, I'm not paying for it twice. I paid for it one time. That's precisely what the government's looking for you to do now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to cover up the fact that they have no way of paying it back. How can you be running a deficit and then say you have the money to pay it back? So they have to keep the printing presses humming, which is going to create big inflation problems for us.
Good. Okay. Now again on June 8th, which is just under 3 weeks
Right.
from now, Republicans in District 12 are going to have the choice between you and Scott Zaprell.
Right.
Why should they choose you?
They should choose me because if they're looking for somebody who's more of a Main Street, free market, somebody who's pro-life, in favor of changing the tax code to the fair tax, I would be the better choice.
Fair enough. So when you were shooting your television commercial earlier
Yes.
today, when is that going to be hitting the airwaves?
That should be hitting around June 1st.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there'd be a blitz in the last.
Absolutely.
Are you going to put it on the internet first, or is it just going on cable?
Good question.
TV,
We're
or-
not sure yet.
Uh-huh.
Not sure yet. It's a good question.
Good. Well, that's all I have, Dave. Unless you have something else you want to tell them, more Monmouth Musings
No?
viewers.
Okay. Just if you know someone in the 12th Congressional District and they are fed up and have had enough, please tell them to go out and vote for me on June 8th in the Republican primary.
Good luck.